Hey guys, a few of you are already here, I think. I see Max and Winner training in the chat already. Good to see you guys. Hope a few more come in and then we'll get going. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Enzo. Good evening. I'm assuming audio and video and everything works as usual. Let me know if it doesn't. And before we start, a big shout out to the sponsor of the show, which is Blockfolio. They have one of the best, if not the best, mobile app for kind of like buying spot, selling spot, trading spot, basically. I mean, in my opinion anyway, better than everything else that I've tested. So if you want to do any of that on your mobile phone, check them out. The links to that are in the description. And yeah, they've been amazing to work with. So only proper to give them a proper shout out, I think. Please let your volume up. I think my volume is fine, but let me know if it isn't. Audio a bit low? Oh, okay. Let me see what I can do. Whoops. That's the wrong thing. Okay, that's surprising. Even more so given I've got many complaints last time that I was too quiet. But yeah. Let me see if I can fix that real quick and now we get going. Audio is fine? Okay, I'll leave it then because I mean, I don't see a way to make it louder right now anyway. Audio is like, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is so weird. I've changed nothing and last time people complained it was too loud and now they complain it's too quiet. Should we withdraw everything from Binance? I have no reason to believe that, but I mean, I wouldn't say that, I mean, I wouldn't want to have all my money there. It's just, I have money there and I don't think I'm going to lose it. So yeah. Let's start on talking about like what's happening, where we're going, all that kind of stuff. So right now we've been ranging in this range for a long time now, right? It's been like what, 2 months almost. And we've put in a range in here, right? This bigger range. And then we started putting in a range at the lower boundary of that bigger range, which is this one. And typically, like, that's not necessarily something I want to be seeing, right? Because what you want to be seeing is this start to curl up, right? You don't want to be seeing this to just like, you make a range and then you go to the bottom of the range, sit on top of it for a long time, maybe go even lower, do that again, right? So right now, this still looks kind of shitty. We're still not back into like at least the upper part of the range. I would say this is the upper part of the range. And this is the lower part of the range, right? So until we're not back in the upper part of the range, there's no big reason to kind of FOMO into this thing. Because all you're getting, the difference between like buying here and buying a little bit higher, like 4 to 5%, but the risk of this breaking down are exponentially higher down here than they are if we go back above 35, right? So if I wanted to get this thing, that would be above the lower range, right? So the higher one. Now, one thing that's worth a mention is that while this range has been going on, right, the FUD intensity has been never ending, really. Like we've been getting like big amounts of news that are just like super negative. I mean, someone asked me just now about whether I think they're going to lose their money on Binance, right? Because Binance been getting smacked hard. And what's been happening is that a lot of that news has been coming out in the lower range here, and it's not led to price breaking down. So that's at least a good thing. That's a first sign that this might actually not break down. The more important sign, in my opinion, for this to go up actually would be to at least make that first step and break out of technical resistance, right? You don't want to be buying straight into resistance. That's why I've not pulled the trigger, right? And there's one more reason why I've not pulled the trigger, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, you don't want to be buying into resistance in a market like this, because so far it's been pretty much straight down into a range, right? And anyone that's been kind of like that knows anything about classical kind of charting, classical trading, knows that when you have like a move like this and then a consolidation like this, the chances of it breaking down are higher than it breaking up, right? So in general, like I still think trading this down here is pretty risky, but what I don't want to be missing out on, and that's why I've been looking for buys, is a break above this lower range into like the upper range, and that would be like a pretty nice move from 35-ish to 40. And I'm more than fine with taking that, because the risk reward on that would be pretty nice. And I think the chance of it playing out like that are pretty high if we start breaking into the upper range again. Okay. Only problem is we haven't done that yet, right? So far, all we've been doing is kind of putting in a few lower highs. And if you disregard like the recent few days, you can still see this in here, right? So you've had like lower highs here, then you had a shakeout, and then what you did do afterwards is pretty much lower highs as well. So not looking too pretty, but I mean, considering that the FUD hasn't led to anything, you're gonna have to start wondering like what kind of news or what kind of price action can make this break down, right? And so far nothing's worked. We've had straight up like a sell-off that didn't work. Then we had like a bunch of negative news that hasn't worked. So that's like a big positive, I think. It's just the technicals have to catch up as well. And during chop or bear markets, I don't mind being a little bit late. Because what I don't want to be doing is just buying into this range down here, because I mean, there's not really much room between support and resistance. So there's no trade for me here. It's just higher up. Like if you go back above here, assuming it's not going to just chop, and that's something that can happen, I just think the probability of that happening is low. I think there's a good chance to go to 40. And anything above 40 is super greedy in my mind. Like, I think 40 is already greedy. If you like want to be on the safe side, I think like 38K makes sense. So like getting in an entry into the 35K area, taking an exit at 38K, I think is the best trade that you're going to get. Anything above there is greedy, but I mean, if you want to be betting on trend reversal, I mean, that makes sense, right? It's just, I'm not going to. Because for me, like the trend's been set, right? We've broken down. There's no real reason for me to get overly excited. It's just whenever I see strength, I want to be buying, because these kind of rallies can go much higher. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, no trade for me in here. A trade in here would be like either a pullback or even a deeper pullback into like 35K, into like 38K. That's what I want to be seeing. If I'm not going to see it, I'm not going to be buying. And it doesn't have, like, if we break out on the weekend, I mean, I'm going to be mighty pissed, because I don't think I want to be buying that either. Like, I want to be buying a move that's actually supported by volume, that's actually not just because what we've been seeing, right, on the weekend is people leave their desks. You have a lot less volume, you have a lot less people trading, and then whatever happened on the weekend just gets retraced on Monday or Tuesday, right? And generally we've had a bad Friday going into the weekend. So what happens is Friday price dips, then you go back up on the weekend, and then you completely erase that on Monday or Tuesday, right? So that's not something I want to be seeing. I want to see this like break out before the weekend or after the weekend, and then maybe even buy into the rally. If it's on the weekend, I'm not gonna pull the trigger on any on any breakouts, because I'm not gonna trust them, right? So that's that. And something else to consider is how altcoins been doing, because like I've said before, right, when you see altcoins go crazy, it gets exponentially more dangerous to buy Bitcoin, even more so when it's at support, right? And ETH's been doing pretty well. We've talked about ETH last week when it flipped this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, pretty much exactly when it started flipping this resistance into support, right? Broke above it. And since it's been heading up, I don't really see a good reason to be bearish on this chart. So it's a little bit worrisome, because the Bitcoin rally has been kind of leaning on the shoulders of ETH and on the shoulders of DeFi. Now, DeFi is a little bit less scary than anything else, because DeFi is just bought by some people in the space on the fund kind of side of things, not on the speculator side of things. So DeFi, I don't mind too much if it rallies. What I do mind a lot when it rallies is something like Dogecoin or Shiba or all the other clones. When you see Dogecoin and that kind of stuff go up, that's a bad sign. And I mean, I think ETH, even like ETH's the same, or at least similar. Less bad, but still bad. But the DeFi space is a little bit, I think, it's a little bit of an outlier. And I'm not really, like, DeFi goes crazy up, I'm not going to be like, okay, this is just super bearish because everyone's trading DeFi. I don't think that's necessarily the case, just because there's some bigger players at hand that are just trying to buy that stuff, right? Because they think that's the future, and they're not really speculating on it. So that's not the biggest problem in the world. Dogecoin going down right now is pretty good though. Like, I generally think the bottom of whatever we have right now, be it the correction or bear market, is probably gonna be when Dogecoin kind of reaches like 200 sats or something. Like, Dogecoin nukes entirely, and I'm gonna be looking for like bigger buys again on the bigger pairs. Until then, like, I'm just gonna play the short time frames, like I said, like 35k to 38k, or let's say we nuke to, like, let's say we break this range, right, to the downside, and then start rallying. Like, I don't have a problem buying this, I just have a problem holding it, because you have trash like Dogecoin still highly overvalued. So, you know, like, there's a bunch of people still ready to be wrecked, and still, like, the Doge backholders aren't really backholders yet, because this has barely gone down. Like, yeah, I know it's down like 50% right now, but that's nothing, right? You want to be seeing that 80-90% down, then they're truly backholders, and then they can kind of get wrecked by the market and can just start over again. Before that happens, I mean, gonna be pretty difficult, but we'll see. We will see. I just want my money back. I mean, if it was that easy, everyone would be a trader. The crazy thing is, like, so many people have been getting into trading lately that, I mean, that's kind of how it's been. But I think at least in the crypto space, it's slowed down a lot, which is good. Cred sounds weird. Fuck you too. Are you going to get position upper bound of that box or close above 35k on daily? So for whoever is wondering, like, how to position on something like this, right? Like on a breakout like this, it depends on a lot of things, right? I'm going to be looking at the altcoins. I want to see, like, is this led by derivatives? Is this led by altcoins? What's happening in general? Is it a weekend move? Is it not? But if it's none of that, right? If it's not led by derivatives, if it's not led by altcoins, if it's not led on a weekend, and this breaks out, I'm like I did back here, I'm just gonna be buying into the rally, right? So I saw strength here and I was buying into the rally. I mean, I sold pretty soon afterwards, right? I sold right here because the altcoin started worrying me again. But I'm still gonna do the same thing if I get strength that I like to see. And problem with that is that I can't just say, okay, blanket buy like 35, 36K if it breaks above it. But I mean, that should be kind of obvious, because if it was that easy to trade, right? If you could just say like weeks in advance, okay, do this if this, I mean, then you just write a bot and just never look at the chart again, right? There's a little bit more involved in it. With supports, like on the buy side, when it nukes, I think it's a little easier, right? I can almost guarantee you that if we break down, we're gonna get a bounce in the 23, 24K area, right here. You're gonna see, like, if this breaks down, right, you're gonna see a pretty massive bounce. Now, I don't know if it's gonna have any follow through if we go there or not, but I'm like almost 100% certain that we're gonna get a bounce there, right? With breakout buys, it's a little bit different, right? You can have a breakout and it breaks out and then it just breaks down again. You bought into here and then you're fucked the moment it starts trading back into the boundary again. So breakout buying is much more difficult, even more so in conditions like this. So that's why I like typically try to just buy the nukes. But given that I've not been trading much, like I've traded the first nuke, traded some of the following ones, but I've not been doing much in here. Maybe I'm just getting bored, right? The wise play would probably still be waiting for like a massive capitulation. But yeah, I mean, that's how I look at things. Like the altcoins have to like not go crazy. Like Dogecoin, for example, if Dogecoin starts rallying again and you see like a bunch of people on TikTok going crazy, and then maybe even that on a weekend, right? Let's say Dogecoin pumps into the weekend, Bitcoin pulls up with it, and then you get people going full stupid again. I would definitely not be buying into a breakout like that, right? But if the breakout is kind of Bitcoin led, not on the weekend, that kind of stuff, I have no problems buying into the breakout. Because the worst thing would be like I buy into the breakout and get invalidated immediately. And if that happens, I think there's a really high chance that it's just going to break down lower. And then I'm just going to be buying here again. And then I take a little bit of a haircut and I'm fine in the end, right? So DOT is pumping nicely. Dude, I don't want to talk about it. I told Cred, yo Cred, this is a really good straggler setup. Please, and Cred, give me a shout if you're in the chat. I told him, please Cred, let's put this in the newsletter because I like the setup. Yeah, we couldn't agree. So, is what it is. I still like this. But it's no altcoin, and it's not even DeFi, it's just no altcoin. So, yeah. But I wanted to shill this, take some credit for what it's doing. But it is not supposed to be. Credit's too conservative for that, Doc? That's not true. Cred's been calling a lot of the altcoin moves way ahead before I have. It's just like, right now, I mean, and we both agree on this, right now the market kind of looks shit. In general, like all of these bounces, right, on the altcoins have kind of taken them into bearish retest levels. Even this, right? Even this is like a bearish retest. It's a straggling bearish retest. Now this could go up higher, right? But like kind of advertising for this is really hard, and swing trading it is too, because this, for all intents and purposes, has broken down, right? So DOT is an FTX DeFi index. Yeah, I mean, is it? I don't even know what is what anymore, but So like there's a reason why we've been steering clear of altcoins, and we've been steering clear of altcoins like literally into like somewhere in here. And it's still like, even this is still a shitload away from, why is this not working? No, it is. From where we've been saying, okay, just chill with the altcoins. And I think like, let's say Bitcoin moves, if Bitcoin moves in a bullish direction, which I would be surprised, right? Let's say this like literally does something like this, you're gonna get fucked in altcoins. And if Bitcoin does this, you're gonna get fucked by altcoins. The only thing where you can actually like make some profit in the altcoins would be like something like this, and then maybe a rejection, some more ranging. Most of the time, you're not gonna have a good time on the altcoin side of things. So, but yeah, it's a good place to dabble if you're bored, because like Bitcoin for sure hasn't given any good entries, or like on both the short and the long side ever since 40K, I think. Like everything, like this was a really nice sell. Anything beyond that point, like all of this price action's been exceptionally shitty. So I love this Doge indicator, backholder syndrome. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? A bunch of people got into crypto for the wrong reasons, and they speculated on garbage, and it's been happening for years and years. And I think even if crypto does well, Dogecoin is gonna do poorly. I think like unless Elon goes completely nuts, basically taking this trade, like basically like literally almost anything in the crypto space. So if you short Doge, long anything but Dogecoin, this is the money maker. Like if you want to do like the most brain dead trade, I think this is the trade. You just short, like if you get like the desire to long anything, you just hedge it by Doge shorts. And as long as you're not going too high leverage and you have a high time frame horizon, you're gonna make money with it. Like imagine shorting Doge, longing ETH, right? In the long run, Dogecoin is going to go near zero. So all you have to kind of worry about is the funding costs. And ETH might go to near zero, who the fuck knows, or goes to like a lot higher than it is right now. But it's going to take much, much longer for it to go near zero, and it has much more upside potential. Now, the only kind of the two risks that you take by shorting Dogecoin is one, that Elon kind of fucks you up. But that's been like his tweet's been on the weaker side of things. So the only thing that he could really do realistically is buy Dogecoin, and I don't think he's gonna go that far, or at least like publicly buy it. I think privately he has probably bought it, or when, I mean that's basically one of the only risks that you take. Like Elon's a little bit of the X factor, but I mean I'd be very, very surprised if he can pull this thing up. So yeah, and Elon, every time he's been tweeting about Dogecoin, the reaction has been getting slower and slower. So, or like slower and slower, weaker and weaker. This two tweets of Elon, this one tweet of Elon, both of those, if you bought the top on the first one, you're down 14%. If you bought the top on the second one, you're down 10%. Even though like he's been like tweeting basically nonstop about this thing. Now, this is probably gonna go down here and then bounce again, and people are gonna be again, oh, this is the new paradigm, whatever, and then it's gonna do the same thing again. Now, if you wanna have any kind of example of why I think this is gonna play out like it does, Dogecoin is basically XRP of last cycle. People actually got like tricked into believing that this does anything at all. It doesn't. The same thing with XRP last cycle. And we can delete all of this. I don't really care about it. And I can show you what I mean. You've had your top, And then you had a bunch of pumps along the way, and every time people thought this is it. And this was a giant pump at the time. It's just what happens is you set a high and then you never go back to it, and I think that's what Dogecoin is. It's just a question of how high are gonna, like these bounces, how high are they gonna be? And that answer is really hard to give because, like I said, Elon could tweet about it, like anyone in the traditional world that kind of likes to meme could talk about it, so it can bounce pretty high. But in the end, like this is gonna go back to near to zero. So yeah. I'm so bored. I'm watching Bitcoin TA. Good stuff though. I mean, it's less TA right now, more of like a fundamental side of things, like the Dogecoin shit. But I realistically think, like, I mean, you have this, you're getting wrecked in the long term. And it could take like 2 or 3 years because that's how like these bigger pumps just play out. Back to Bitcoin, the weekly time frame. I mean, and this is why like in the end, any trade I take is more of a boredom trade because we're still in this range and there's nothing changed on the higher time frames. It's just like legitimately going sideways in support. The problem is like it's poked at the top side of it, already faked out there. So could do the same on the opposite side of things. I'd actually really like a move down here into like the 28, 26 area, and then a move back in, because then it would start looking incredibly bullish and we could actually see like a bigger complacency bounce, maybe even a reversal into like 45, 49K. I'm not entirely sure if the market is going to be kind enough to give me that though. So still waiting for that, or hoping that I get it, because I mean that'd be a pretty nice trade. What about Angelo and his Doge long? I don't think he's gonna make it on that trade. So I mean, maybe on the USD pair he does. If Bitcoin, like I could see Bitcoin go to 100K and Dogecoin still be at like 20, 30, 40 cents. I don't think like, maybe like Bitcoin even doubles and goes to like 120. I could still see that. Like I could still be like, okay, I'm on board with that. Seems a little crazy, but I mean, I can see where you come from. But if you're expecting anything significantly above $1 Doge, I think you're completely delusional. So, what the fuck? 1 million viewers and 82 likes. I like you complaining, man. I mean, I never like videos on YouTube, so I don't deserve the likes. It's my own fault. It's karma striking me back. Okay, let me see what you guys have written. Let's hope he loses the power of tweeting in an elaborate performance art accident due to Grimes. I mean, Elon, yeah. I honestly, like, I liked Elon for the longest time. And the more I hear from him and the more I see him act, the less I do. So he's now in the firm dislike category. Even though he's bought Bitcoin, even though he's like involved in crypto now, I don't know. I don't like him very much. What are your thoughts on Sol? It has rebounded great, worth staying in for long haul. Sol is one of the ones where I actually want to get involved. And I mean, nothing bearish about this chart. It's actually breaking out right now. I don't even know where that line comes from. Is that like, oh, that's not, dude. Yeah, that's the weekly level. Broke down, like liquidated almost everyone, like every other altcoin did, and then just powered through. I don't mind this. Like, if you have a position, I mean, you've not been invalidated, and I think anything above this point, right, is completely like, this breaks down here, maybe you're in trouble, right? But unless that happens, and I don't think it does happen, I mean, this looks like a decent trade. So, yeah, I like Sol, not for fundamental reasons, but based on the price action, this just looks bullish. So yeah, that's my kind of piece on it. Because you asked like, should I sell it? Should I buy it? Whatever. I think like if you want to be buying like an altcoin, buy one that looks like this. Can you make TA tutorials? Not really. There's like so much stuff that goes into it, and I'm terrible at explaining stuff that I don't think I wanna like. If you wanna like watch good, well-made stuff, watch creds. My stuff is just like, I mean, my trading is not just okay, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3. And my charting is neither, so it's a little bit more difficult. You have to read between the lines of like not only okay, there's like a support resistance line, but also a bunch of other stuff, right? You want to be reading the narratives. You want to be reading, okay, like let for example, right? Looking at this chart, this is clearly bearish, right? I mean, this is a bearish chart. Now, that can get turned on its head when you realize that all of this stuff has been during a period where we've been getting shit news, bad article after bad article thrown at us. That's a very, very different kind of look on this thing, right? Because then you realize like a bunch of people get flooded out of their position, and this like kind of bearish looking chart gets a little bit less bearish. And then it gets easier to kind of see, okay, there could be another side to this thing. Like right now, for example, like just in a vacuum, you'd be shorting exactly this resistance. But I would never want to be shorting this because I know like in what kind of period this happened. So like there's a bunch of more stuff than that. Like the narratives matter, the news matter, how you react to news, that kind of stuff. The TA does matter too. If you break above it alongside everything else that's playing out. And then obviously the level selection plays a role. Like there's a bunch of stuff in it. I don't think I could explain it very well. You just kind of have to figure out how this all works by me kind of explaining my thought process and then making up your own. I think that's the best way anyway. Goal Denmark? Oh shit. Yeah, I forgot that football's on. No wonder no one checks the stream. Well, about we go to 28k and back to range for bearish retest. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like you go and break to the downside, like this entire range, right? Let's say we break this and we start like wrecking people. This goes back up here into like the 30k bearish retest area. Like let's say you like bet on a bearish retest here. I think you're gonna get wrecked on that. If anything, like it's gonna do like something like this and then shoot off, because this has been the iron floor, right? Like this, look at how many times we've been in this area and it's been holding and holding and holding, right? And if we break it and don't completely shit the bed, I'm gonna think we're gonna reverse big time. Basically, if we break the support that's ironclad, what happens afterwards is this. And if that's not what happens after, just literally just straight down after straight down after straight down, what you're gonna see instead is, like let's say this moved back up, what you're gonna see instead is this. So what I would expect in this case, if we actually went for the 30k or 28k or whatever retest, I would think that's a buy, not a sell. Now, if we break down and then start bleeding down, then you want to be buying lower. So I would actually, like, if we go back to like break down into 30k, I'd be looking for higher low to buy, not to sell. Okay. Hope that cleans it or clears it up. Don is about to go all in ETH. Now, the problem with ETH, and I'm not going to be buying ETH. Problem with ETH is that if it goes up too crazily, I'm going to be bearish Bitcoin, right? So like buying this makes no sense to me. Not because the chart's bearish, the chart's actually completely fine. The problem with buying ETH is that, like, let's say this outperforms, I think Bitcoin's just gonna break down, and then you're stuck in ETH, and you're probably gonna get wrecked alongside Bitcoin, even if it outperforms. So it's like, I don't know, it's not my favorite kind of trade. If you're taking the ETH trade, what you're basically doing is like you're betting on range continuation. And I think that's a fine bet to take. It's just not one that I want to be doing. Like I would want to be like buying lows, like let's say this breaks down, I want to be buying that, or it shows some strength, I want to like low time frame trade that. I don't want to be buying ETH for a swing trade when I'm looking at Bitcoin like this, because what you're basically betting on is ETH going up, and that is like that's one of the indications for me that actually Bitcoin is gonna break down, right? So they kind of contradict each other. I could still see that happen. I could still see ETH go up quite a bit before Bitcoin breaks down, but I would eventually think Bitcoin breaks down. And because timing that breakdown is so hard, it's not a trade that I want to be taking. But for example, we don't have enough OI to create another cascade. So does that mean it has to be driven massively from spot? Yeah, kind of. The thing is, like, let's say this breaks down, right? I mean, you'd still liquidate a bunch of people. It's not like no one's in position, right? But you would definitely liquidate less than usual. But yeah, I mean, there's not only, like, people act like the only way Bitcoin can go down is by like liquidating people. That's not the case. Like we break 30K, people start selling. And it doesn't have to be like leverage. It doesn't have to be driven by leverage. It doesn't have to be driven by anything. It can just be people panicking. Like a bunch of people, what you have to realize is that a lot of people bought in here. Like the people that bought lower, they're far and few in between. Like the Sailor bought down here and he's managed to push his average up here, right? So it's like, you know that a bunch of people are in distress, and even if they're not, like if they're not forced to sell because they're getting liquidated, they're still gonna panic sell. So it doesn't have to, like I see this all the time everywhere. People are like, okay, who's gonna sell though? And it's like, there's a bunch of people that are still in this thing hoping for it to turn up. And if it doesn't, I'm not saying it won't, because right now I just like the thing that I would like to see most would be something like this. So I can trade from 35 to 38 and then maybe like it breaks back down again and then it can play the range again. Like that'd be my favorite kind of setup. So that's what I'm rooting for. But yeah, I could see this breakdown too. Sailor's average is 26K. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty damn close to current price. We basically hit that on this liquidation wick. Hey Don, what if it's not in a straight range and the diagonal, if you draw a trend line and all tops and ignore the 40K move, now we reset again the range downwards? You mean like something like this? I mean, you can draw it, it's not going to help you much. Like, I know that this is basically what you mean. I've drawn this before. It's just like, do you really want to be buying like down here? If yes, I mean, I think that's beyond dangerous, because at that point you're basically already rolled over. Or do you want to be shorting this? And I think that's pretty damn dangerous as well, because besides, like, even though we've had a lot of bad news, we've been holding up strong. So like this resistance area isn't as attractive to me as it would normally be to short. So like, even if you draw this, right, how do you trade it? And for me, the answer is like, I couldn't. And then you could see like a breakout above this as added confluence. But given I don't really use diagonals much, it's not going to help me. But it's a valid way to draw this if you want to. It's just, you're going to have to think about how to use it. And if you can't use it, I mean, it's not going to be much help. Have you decided on what we're going to do together as your audience? No, like the suggestions were all pretty damn shitty, not gonna lie. Like people are like, you should be doing this and this and this, and then they list stuff up that I could be doing, where I'm just sitting here doing like work and everyone else just enjoys it. But that wasn't really the plan. Like I wanted to like get input of people that actually want to be doing something, right? Like suggest a project, do anything cool really, not okay, do like a TA series or whatever, because I mean that's not something that I do with an audience. It's just like something that I would be doing and then have an audience, which is not something I'm looking forward. Goal England 1-1. Let's go. I mean, the only country I don't want to see winning, and excuse me for saying this for everyone that's in the country, is Italy, because my city is like full of Italians, and they just never stop honking the entire fucking night, and I want to sleep. So it's like that's the only country I'm like, where I'm like, okay, I don't want to see them winning, but not because I don't like them, but just because it gets so fucking annoying. But if England wins this game against Denmark, there might actually be good betting odds against them in the final. So might actually be worth taking a punt, because the English fans get like overzealous, and then even if you think they're gonna win, like if the odds are good, might as well punt the trade or like a bet or whatever you wanna call it. Still don't like NFTs. Art NFTs, I think, are still completely stupid. I think most of them are gonna go to zero, like 99.9%. There's some other stuff that is cooler, but nothing really that excites me too much at current point. But I do concede that there's some value there. It's just not, in my opinion, the art world. Italy will win, Don. Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised, man. It's just like, yeah. I just like my sleep. I value my sleep very much, and if I can't sleep because people are fucking driving around the city, honking like crazy for like 5 hours, ugh. Okay. So that's that. TA wise, ETH-USD, we talked about this. I've been saying like you reclaim this, target this, and I mean it's going pretty nicely. Like I said, the problem with this trade for me and why I'm not taking it is because it goes kind of like against what I think. Like you're kind of betting on this happening before Bitcoin runs out of time, and I don't like that bet. But I like the setup. So I was like debating like at least 10 times. I was sitting there almost pulling the trigger at least 10 times down here. It's just, yeah, I'm fine with just sitting this one out. Because even if it goes there, like the hilarious part, people are like, ETH's reversing, ETH's so bullish. This is still a very, very bearish chart in general. It's just like you kind of reclaim support and now you're on the way to resistance. That's like the first thing it has to do to actually look back, like look somewhat decent again. Something that I could be seeing is something like this, where it then goes to like 33K, because then you've got like this inverse head and shoulders kind of thingy, which I think would set up a really nice complacency shoulder in here before it like goes back and ranges into 2K some more. But yeah, ETH-USD, I mean, I don't mind it. If you took that trade based on like how I explained it, I mean, good shit. Maybe raise your invalidation a little, because like I said, if Bitcoin does anything, this might not do too well. What am I missing? Is Technical Roundup changing into something else? What is this talk of other projects? I mean, oh, you mean talk of other projects? I thought you were like kind of memeing me talking about ETH, but no, like I just like yesterday I asked if there was any kind of cool idea anyone has for something that we as a community could do, right? Because that's something that's been lacking in the space. It's always just like someone influences and sits there and shares their views, and then the audience consumes, and then the audience doesn't really contribute too much other than like comment on it from time to time. And I thought like it'd be cool to change that a little bit, but so far I've not been convinced that there's much. Like I haven't had a good idea, and I haven't seen anyone else have a good idea. So yeah, that's ETH. I hate when that happens, when I get like a bullish setup, and this is one of my favorites. Like this kind of very straightforward range reclaim, and this one was a pretty good one. And then my general market thesis doesn't align, so I have like conflicting sides to the trade. So I generally try to only take trades when I have like a bunch of stuff aligned, and not when I have like one bearish, one bullish view on it. But yeah, this was a pretty, like, technically ignoring everything else, this was a pretty nice setup from support to resistance, and still only halfway there. And then on the side of the others, we've talked about Dogecoin. Like I said, I'd be very surprised if this didn't bleed out. Same, honestly, with the old coins like Bitcoin Cash, XRP, Litecoin. Those all looks very, very bearish to me still. Don't really see a good reason to get into any of those. The only thing that's been moving a little bit constructively, and even those like don't look like too convincing, is like sushi, like all the DeFi stuff basically. And even the DeFi stuff has been making lower highs and lower lows, right? So even that is trending down. It's just like these moves have been bigger, so they're pretty they're more fun to trade, right? And Aave, like we've been talking about Aave being one of the stronger ones, bounce from support as well. Like that kind of stuff not looking too bad. It's just like all the other stuff's looking kind of shitty, right? So you have a bunch of stuff that looks pretty bad, a few things that look good, and the good things, like the good thing about the market right now is that like you've been actually able to play these kind of outliers, right? Like Aave looked pretty decent, still at support, and that bounced pretty strongly. And Solana, we looked at that earlier, that bounced pretty strongly too. Like the strong coins performed well and the weak coins performed really shitty. And the weak coins still look really bad. Like look at this, like this is a terrible chart. Like it's hilarious how bad of a chart this is. So yeah, it's been basically, if you know like how to look for strength and you've played strength, you've done well. And if you've tried to like play the weak ones, you've been getting wrecked. So that's at least something, because then you can make pair trades. It's something I can't do at the moment, but like if I could, I'd be all over this, where I just like pick a weak coin, pick a strong coin, short one, short long the other, kind of try to stay neutral and milk the market that way while it's going sideways, because then you can catch the rotations back and forth. Is this Donald? This is Donald, yeah. I vote for Don streaming a 2-hour scalping session at 5-minute time frame. Then we watch for entertainment. You would have to pay me a shitload of money to do that, because Jesus fuck, that sounds like torture in these market conditions. Fucking hell. Like, why would we want to be like doing that when the market's kind of like fucking everyone over? I don't really understand why people are trying so hard to trade this low time frame, because I mean this isn't necessarily a chart that lends itself well to it. If you want to like trade this at all, like the 4-hour I think is the best one to do it right now on the lower time frames. And we've had a strong impulse here, couldn't break new lows here. So unless anything of this gives, it still makes sense to kind of expect higher, right? And like the low time frames look decent. The problem is you're at high time frame resistance in the daily. So like whenever you have that situation, you just don't want to be trading the low time frames, and you want to be waiting for direction on the higher time frames. And the good thing is, right, and this is something that you can use in your everyday kind of trading. If you want to be trading the lower time frames, you have this support zone outline, you have this resistance zone outline, right? And then you go to lower time frames and you know exactly what to look for, right? You're looking for strength into that support, which I X'd out down here, and that's kind of what you got in here, right? What you did get was like a breakout here into a move higher, right? And then where you want to take that off again is at high time frame resistance. That's at that X up here, and then you can just trade that. But it's like you're trading at that point, like even like let's say you waited for the strength and you bought into the breakout. What you're like kind of doing is like trading for 3 to 4%, and that adds up. But I just like with my time, I try to do a little bit more valuable stuff, which can be just sitting on the couch doing nothing, but still better spent than trying to squeeze out something that I think is not going to move much. Would you trade altcoins in higher time frames like daily or 4 hours in these conditions, or just small time frame trades? So if I was still at the start of my career, right, I still think like the opportunity in altcoins for like a trader are pretty big, right? It's just the risks are huge as well, right? But I mean, depending on your bankroll, that can be a good thing, right? Like when your bankroll is small, like having more risk than someone that has like a bigger bankroll makes some sense, because let's say you're trading with $50 and you're taking the risk that I'm taking all the time. It's probably going to take you a long time to kind of make that $50 into something that's worthwhile trading, right? As in, you can use it to learn how to trade, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to make you rich most of the time. Some people manage to do it, but like very few, right? So if you're in that situation and you're just looking to make the most, and if you lose it, you don't really care, then you look at altcoins, right? And then you can trade like these rotations on the lower time frames, even on like the 4 hour or on the daily. Like there's some good trades to be had there, right? Like you hit support on the weekly, then you can kind of mark out like this is the top of the weekly box. You want to see a breakout above there. You go to lower time frames. In here, you get the breakout, you get the retest, you try to buy it, you play like that upswing. And if you're wrong, you're going to take a pretty hefty hit, because altcoins move bigger than Bitcoin does. But it's still like you get more volatility out of this, because this moved 40% in the last 5 days ish, or like 6 days, while Bitcoin didn't really move at all, right? So there's more volatility to be had there. It's just like it's more risky as well. So yeah, I would be. Right now, I'm not like I don't need to do it anymore. So I'm quite happy with that. But I might get back into it if I get super bored. If you get a complacency bounce to 47 to 50k area and retrace, can this range provide good support? The thing is, I don't think we're gonna get that. I think I'd be very, very surprised if we went above this area, like significantly, and it like to kind of make a complacency shoulder. I think if you want to make a complacency shoulder, do it like this, and then you could do it, right? Now, if this just goes up here into like 50k and does like rounds out or whatever, I'd be very surprised if that like was the complacency at this point, because I would just expect it to kind of find support in general and then go up. So to answer your question, like if we went to 50k, yeah, 40k is going to be really good support. But I don't think, like you said, that like that move would be complacency. I'd probably try to buy it at least once. And then if you're wrong and it's complacency, so be it. You took one bad trade, right? That's fine. But like if you're aiming for the complacency bounce or whatever, like at this point, it's very like it'd be very surprising if we went anywhere there to do it. If not, like by something like this, where you spike the lows, spike the highs kind of deal. So that is that. Don't do any educational videos. Just tell your tricks, how you trade breakouts and other stuff, live long-term views, and how you come to that conclusion. Basically, your mindset and things you see. I mean, that's literally what I'm doing right now. And I'm obviously not gonna tell you everything because, like, some of this stuff is, at least in my opinion, edge that I wanna be like, not that I don't want to be diluting, but it's basically what I'm doing right now. Like most of the stuff I think about, I do tell. It's just sadly not too much because I'm not the smartest human being on the planet. Thoughts on GBDC unlocking? I mean, I just listened to Loomdal because I've been like, in general, like there's been a bunch of like conflicting news coming out of that. And in my opinion, just, I mean, Loom did a podcast with Luke just today or yesterday. Listen to that. He's got like, probably has like a more educated view on it because I don't have an educated view on it. For me, like, you see GBTC unlocks, it's probably gonna be like we've been seeing GBTC unlocks and price go down, right? And even if it's like a bunch of people have been kind of saying that it's not bearish for GBTC to unlock, and I kind of see where they're coming from, but just based on the fact that people think it will go down into these unlocks, I could see it go down even if they think that's wrong or not. I don't really care. But yeah, check Loom's rant out. Like he's got a more educated opinion on it. I'm more the like just trading the chart somewhat kind of guy. Would love to see more about portfolio size and management, like hedging, stables, etc. Hard for me. Yeah, that would be something I would have to prepare for because I don't want to say anything stupid. I could share what I do, but I'd rather not. But I can think about like a basic formula. It's just that I don't really like. I get bearish on this thing, and I'm gonna be selling some, and I get bullish on the thing, I'm gonna buy some, and like there's not like too deep of like thinking behind it. Like I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm like my 50% of my net worth is in this thing. I'm just like, if I'm bullish, I'm buying. If I'm bearish, I'm selling. And then I'm never all in. And I'm usually never all out, even though like right now I'm basically all out. Like I went all out of this thing in the 60K range. The first time in ages I've done that. And it's been liberating, honestly. The problem is like the longer I stay out of it, the more scared I get that it's gonna be like harder to get back in again. So I'm gonna be trying to get at least that last bit that I sold up here back into the market somewhat soon. Just gonna find a good reason to do so because right now, like I said, it's just. It's the fact that we've not dumped yet is the only bullish thing I see, basically. And that's not enough. I need more. I could share what I do, but I'm rich. That's not what I said. It's not what I said. There's a fine line between buying the dip and DCAing it. There's like DCA in general, like it's such a difficult topic, right? If you're a trader, you never want to be DCAing. If you're an investor, you can DCA the shit out of it. But you got to know what you are, right? If you're a trader and you start DCAing, have fun getting poor because that's what you're going to get. And if you're an investor and you start DCAing, it's probably a decent thing to do. So depends on your time horizon, depends on your attitude towards the market. But yeah. Jesus Christ, the new scam's been getting annoying in the chat. So in general, If you see any kind of links or any kind of like mentions of anything, just don't, like in the chat or below the videos, just don't click it, please, because people be scamming all around. Why only one video per week? I know streams of Weekly Open and you're the least talking guy on Weekly. Also, would you stop doing streams if you don't get any sponsors in futures? I pray it doesn't happen, but still. I mean, I've been streaming before I got sponsored. It's just like the only reason why I do this like regularly is because I get sponsored for it, right? Like back in the day, I was just streaming whenever I felt like it. Now it's like a regular thing. And I approach it a little bit more serious than back then. But yeah, I did streams before. So I would still do them if I wasn't sponsored. It's just nice being sponsored. And I think that's a pretty nice way to round this thing out, because I think we've talked about everything that needs to be talked about. Like I said, wait for some strength or wait for a nuke. Still the same. I'm gonna be like, it shouldn't be weekend strength. That's shitty. Should be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. When we get strength above here. If we don't get that, I'm not interested. So yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. Appreciate you as always. Also appreciate the sponsor of the show, which is Blockfolio. They still have all the portfolio tracking stuff that you kind of used to and loved during like 17, 18. Like you probably loved it during 17 and early 18 and then hated it from 18 to 19. And now you start loving it again. But yeah, they still have all of that. And now you can also trade there. So if you want to check that out, check it out. And yeah, the links are in the description. Appreciate you guys coming by. And we'll see each other on Monday again, because on Friday we're gonna have a nice podcast to listen to. So I'm psyched for that. It's gonna be a really interesting one. So stay tuned, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.